Okay, let's get started if we will. All right, welcome everyone. Call the meeting to order, and it's like we have 100% attendance, so we do have a quorum. All right, agenda item number 1 is consideration of the minutes and from the December 8th, 2023 commission meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to regarding those minutes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Move to adopt the minutes of December 8th, 2023 commission meeting as circulated is the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions anybody has? All right. Call for the question. Everyone who is in agreement to pass the motion, raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. All right, agenda item number 2 is report from the director. Lance.
Good morning. And good morning to all who are in the room today. This is the third meeting of the Alabama Environmental Management Commission for fiscal year 2024. It's my practice to periodically report on the state of the environment in Alabama to see if our efforts have resulted in measurable improvements to the environment in our state. Today's report will update you on the latest information concerning the condition of Alabama's environment. In looking at the state of the environment in Alabama, I'll also contrast the environmental quality data that can be measured to the public perceptions of the quality of the environment in Alabama. I'll also report on the status of our Mobile field office, and finally I'll introduce one of our personnel who has achieved a significant professional milestone. The department seeks to measure its results in many ways. At the October 23 commission meeting, performance against the annual operating plan was analyzed. At the commission meeting in April of 24, we will do the annual review of the EPA-generated quantitative compliance and enforcement metrics comparing all states. When the EPA state review framework audit is performed every 5 years, as it was last year, that information is also provided. And then periodically, we also review the latest information on the trends in the environmental quality in Alabama. Today, we'll look at the state of the environment in Alabama to see if the efforts have actually resulted in measurably better quality environment in Alabama. The last report on the state of the environment was 1 year ago. The state of the environment takes the longer view and compares the quality of Alabama's environment when reliable records were first available 20 to 30 years ago versus where it is now to see if Alabama's environment is improving. The following series of slides will show that comparison for air, water, and land media. Unlike the quantitative performance metrics available from EPA, comparable environmental quality data from the other states is not available. In this report on the state of the environment in Alabama, we'll do something a little different from past years. We will still review the quality measures over the last 20 to 30 years, but we will also use information from a survey of public perceptions to see if the public's perceptions match up with the actual data. Every 5 years since 1998, the department has contracted with one of our state universities to perform a survey of public perceptions regarding several aspects of environmental quality in our state. The same questions are asked each time to allow us to see trends. The participants do not know ADEM commissioned the survey. As you'll see, the public has both correct and incorrect perceptions. One of our endeavors is to improve communications with the public and help the public develop accurate perceptions about the state of the environment in Alabama. We begin with air data. There are 6 basic air quality standards: carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, fine particles, ozone, and lead. There is also a regional haze goal. Over time, most of the standards have been revised, each time becoming more stringent. In 2008, EPA set a 2018 goal for local reductions in haze. As this slide shows, one by one, Alabama has been able to attain individual air quality standards statewide, even as those standards have become tighter. The carbon monoxide standard was first met in 1971. The NOx standard was also met back in 1971. SO2 in 1977. Fine particles standard was first met in 2013, followed by ozone in 2014, and lead in 2015. In 2015, for the first time since the Clean Air Act was enacted in 1971, the state reached attainment for all air quality standards. In addition, Alabama met the 2018 regional haze goal in 2013, 5 years early. This graph shows air emissions from major sources in Alabama since 1990. The red arrows correspond to the date that particular standard was achieved. The carbon monoxide, NOx, and SO2 arrows to the left reflect that those standards were achieved prior to the 1990 time frame for the graph, while the 3 arrows to the right represent the fine particles, ozone, and lead attainment dates of 2013, 2014, and 2015, respectively. As you can see, emissions have declined materially, and improvement continues even after those ever more stringent air quality standards were attained. Overall, the trend of declining emissions, last reported on the state of the environment in Alabama in 2023, continues. The air quality in Alabama clearly has improved since 1990, and it continues to improve. Our recent survey shows that about 51% of the public correctly perceive that the air quality in Alabama has improved during their lifetime. About 36% think the air quality has stayed about the same, and about 13% think the air quality has declined. Looking further into the public's perception, respondents were asked to choose from a multiple choice list what is the biggest source of air pollution in Alabama. From the 10 choices available, the top 3 answers were 42% said industrial and power plants are the largest sources of air pollution, while 25% said motor vehicles, and about 11% said open burning of debris. In reality, during the summer ozone season, which is the time of primary air pollution concern, industrial and power plants accounted for less than 1/2 the amount of nitrogen oxide emissions, a precursor of ozone, as do motor vehicles. 31% for industrial and power plants versus 65% for motor vehicles. As the actual data versus public opinion shows, there is room for improvement in educating the public. Moving on to water data, the water media. We'll look at drinking water data first because of its importance in that it directly impacts every individual in Alabama. Potential contaminants in drinking water fall into 4 categories: organic chemicals, inorganic chemicals, radionuclides, and microbes. In 1982, when the department was created, there were 23 drinking water contaminants regulated. That number is currently 89, as it has been for several years, with most of the increase being in the organic chemicals category. we do expect an increase of 6 in the number of drinking water contaminants regulated in the future because of pending federally mandated maximum contaminant levels for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. We're obviously regulating more potential contaminants in drinking water. With more contaminants to monitor, how well are the water systems doing? In 1982, 82% of the water systems in Alabama were consistently in compliance with the standards for the 23 regulated contaminants. Today, 98% of the water systems in Alabama are continuously in compliance with the health-based standards for the 89 contaminants now regulated. This is the same as it was in 2022. As I've noted in the past, only the state of Hawaii has had a lower number of drinking water violations than here in Alabama. The people of Alabama can have great confidence in the quality of their drinking water. Another measure of water quality looks at the impairments to surface waters in the state. Section 303D of the Clean Water Act calls for a listing of impaired water bodies, which are those not meeting federally approved water quality standards for various pollutants such as nutrients, pathogens, metals, and suspended solids. This chart couples both the area of impairments and the number of pollutants. For example, if 1 mile of stream or 1 acre of surface water is impaired for nutrients and pathogens, that would be counted as 2 combination miles of impaired stream or 2 combination acres of surface water. 25% of the 59,000 miles of perennial rivers and streams and 93% of the more than 1 million acres of lakes, reservoirs, ocean, and estuaries in the state have now been fully assessed for impairment. Over the years, as more water bodies have been assessed, more impairments have been identified and listed. During the period between 1998 and 2023, more than 13,000 combination miles of impaired streams, rivers, and streams were identified and added to the 303D list. In 2023, there remained about 4,500 combination miles of impaired rivers and streams as a result of 9,000 combination miles being removed from the list due to improved water quality or being addressed the development of a total maximum daily load, TMDL, determination. A TMDL sets strict limits for the discharge of pollutants into the assessed water body that will bring that water body into compliance with water quality standards. During the period from 1998 through 2023, more than 1.1 million combination acres of impaired lakes, reservoirs, ocean, and estuaries were added to the 303D list when identified. In 2023, there remained about 660,000 combination acres of impaired lakes, rivers, ocean, and estuaries as a result of more than 450,000 combination acres being removed from the list due to improved water quality or being addressed by TMDL development. As with rivers and streams, this shows ongoing improvement. Overall, impaired water bodies have seen significant improvement over the years, and that improvement continues. Now, the 303D list identifies impaired water bodies. Water bodies are also tracked by an assigned designation or use classification. The data in this slide will go back to 1982, which is a bit further back than the previous slide. Looking at the 3 highest classifications and designations, outstanding national resource waters, outstanding Alabama waters, and treasured Alabama waters, as you can see, in 1982, no state waters were yet determined to have met the requirements to be designated in the highest categories. By 2023, Alabama was recognized to have a total of more than 1,100 miles and nearly 5,600 acres in the 2 combined designations of natural waters of outstanding quality that are considered important to Alabama and the nation. Alabama also has more than 40,000 acres of exceptionally high quality waters resulting from the man-made impoundment of watercourses into reservoirs with the treasured Alabama Lakes designation. Conversely, at the other end of the scale, the number of miles of watercourses in the lowest use classification, which is below fish and wildlife classification and suitable only for industrial and agricultural use, has declined from more than 700 miles to just over 100 miles. Since 1982, Alabama has seen dramatic increase in waters qualifying for the highest quality designations and use classifications, and likewise dramatic decrease in those falling into the lowest classifications. As measured by drinking water, impaired water bodies, and water body designations and classifications, water quality in Alabama is exceptionally good and continues to improve. Looking at how the public perceives water quality improvement during their lifetime, about 59% rated water quality as improved. 28% saw no change, and 13% rated water quality lower over their lifetime. The data shows very clearly that water quality has been dramatically improving, so there is an opportunity for us to get that message out more effectively. Moving on to data from the land media. We begin by looking at landfills. Landfills are a necessary feature if we are to dispose of solid waste generated by each of us in a safe, efficient, and effective manner. In 1989, Alabama had 141 unlined municipal solid waste landfills. All of those have been closed. Today, there are 30 state-of-the-art lined MSW permitted landfills handling all the municipal solid waste in Alabama. Alabama, like other states, has had to deal with not only permitted landfills, but also with unauthorized solid waste dumps. Since 2009, nearly 2,300 unauthorized solid waste dumps have been remediated. This is up 3.3% over 2022. Nearly 1,700 of those have been remediated by actions against responsible parties, while nearly 600, representing innocent landowners, have been cleaned up using funds provided by the $1 per ton fee on solid waste disposed of in landfills, which was initiated in 2009. The responsible party number is up 3.6%, and the innocent landowner number is up 2.4% compared to 2022. In addition to safely disposing of solid waste, efforts have been expanding to reduce the total amount of solid waste in Alabama by promoting recycling. Once again, significant progress has been made since our last report in 2023, just as it has been in prior years. The solid waste reduction rate in Alabama today is more than 5 times what it was in 1989 and has now surpassed 25% recycling goal set back in 1991 and compares very favorably with national averages. The total recycling volume now comes to 3.9 million tons per year, about the same as it was in 2022. A robust recycling grant program administered by ADEM since 2010 has provided more than $30 million in grants to help achieve this success. Scrap tires present special problems as fire hazards and breeding grounds for vectors. Since 2006, 386 illegal scrap tire dumps containing more than 11 million tires have been cleaned up. The number of scrap tire dumps cleaned up is up 4% over what it was in 2022. Today, solid waste in Alabama's environment is being dealt with responsibly. In the past, underground storage tanks typically found at gas stations have been subject to leaks due to corrosion or physical damage. Leaking petroleum products contaminate both soil and groundwater. New regulations and technology now prevent or provide for early detection of leaks from tanks installed in recent years, but many legacy sites exist in Alabama and throughout the nation. Since 1989, more than 12,400 leak sites have been identified in Alabama. More than 11,500, 93% of which is about the same as 2022, have been cleaned up, with 826 additional sites in some stage of the cleanup process. Groundwater contamination from underground storage tanks continues to decline. This slide shows what's been happening with other contaminated legacy sites known as brownfields. These most often are old industrial sites. As with underground storage tanks, new regulatory programs and technology have all but halted the creation of new brownfield sites. The brownfield program has identified 678 legacy brownfield sites in Alabama. Since 2001, 448, or about two-thirds of those sites, totaling 6,400 acres, have been returned to productive use. This is a 0.9% increase in the number of sites returned to productive use and a 0.7% increase in acreage returned to productive use since 2022. 94 of the remaining sites, totaling more than 8,100 acres, are actively enrolled in the Brownfields program. Work continues to identify, enroll, and clean up brownfield sites. The land returned to productive use is very often in prime areas for future industrial development. Both the environment and economic prospects in Alabama have been improved since 2001 because of this program. In the June 12, 2023 Commission meeting, I reported on brownfields legislation enacted during the 2023 legislative session that provides new incentives intended to further accelerate the cleanup of old industrial sites. You'll be considering rulemaking today to implement that new legislation. Our public opinion survey did not have specific direct questions about trends in the management of solid waste, but there were two questions that asked about the role of solid waste in contributing to environmental quality. One question asked respondents to choose from a multiple choice list, what is the biggest source of water pollution in Alabama? From the 10 choices, the top 4 answers were illegal dumping of litter and waste by individuals at 33%, industrial plants at 21%, municipal sewage treatment plants at 10%, and stormwater at 8.4%. By far, the largest source of water pollution in Alabama is in fact stormwater rather than illegal dumping of solid waste. The second question that elicited a response directed at solid waste regarding environmental quality was also a multiple choice question. When asked what the responder thought the most important environmental problem facing Alabama today is, of the 9 choices, illegal dumps, garbage, solid waste, and hazardous waste at 31% scored ahead of the next 2, water pollution at about 20%, and air pollution at about 12%. Of course, there are several plausible answers to that question, but despite the significant progress shown on the last few slides, various types of solid waste are perceived as the most important environmental problem facing Alabama today. The quality of Alabama's environment, as measured by declining air emissions that now meet national ambient air quality standards, meeting or beating water quality standards, and the extensive remediation of legacy solid waste contamination, and has been improving continuously over the years, and it has continued that improvement since we last reviewed the data. Hard data shows the progress. Results are what we all look for. This report is a look back at some highlights of achievements and a commitment to continue the work. The state of the environment in Alabama is much improved over what it was 20 to 30 years ago. It is improved over what it was in 2022. Our citizens breathe much cleaner air, have higher quality water, and can be assured that solid waste management and the contaminated land remediation have significantly progressed. The current state of the environment in Alabama is very good, and overall trends are favorable. The department regulates 35,000 facilities in Alabama. Occasionally, some of those 35,000 regulated facilities, as well as entities not subject to ADEM regulation, encounter problems that result in adverse environmental impacts. This is the case in every state in the nation. Those affected by such events clearly have reason to be concerned. The department undertakes enforcement when warranted and works with other federal, state, and local governmental organizations as necessary to undertake corrective measures. Unwelcome as individual events causing great concern may be, this report on the state of the environment looks at the entire state of Alabama over time, and that also factors in the various violations of environmental regulations. A final finding in our recently completed survey of public opinion on the environment in Alabama shows overall 86% of the public considers the quality of Alabama's environment to be good, while 12% consider it to be bad. With only 2% answering don't know, it's pretty obvious nearly everyone has an opinion. Despite some misperceptions on various components of the environment, people in Alabama seem to agree with the actual data that the state of the environment in Alabama is good and getting better. On February 1st, the Mobile Field Office, that has been under construction for nearly 2 years, passed the Life, Health, and Safety inspection by the Alabama Department of Finance's Division of Construction Management, which signaled substantial completion of the facility. Move-in has begun. There are several punch list items that are anticipated to be completed in the next 30 days. When the punch list is complete, a ribbon cutting ceremony is planned, which should be in mid-March. We will be sending out a notice of the date and time about 2 weeks before the event. We'll be arranging transportation for commission members who may be able to attend. As you know, the department encourages our personnel to undertake professional development. It's an important element in our unified strategic plan and our annual operating plans. It's also part of our plan to recognize those who have achieved significant milestones in their professional development. I'm pleased to introduce Dustin Stokes in our Water Division, who recently, stand up, Dustin, thank you, recently completed the rigorous requirements to earn the accreditation of professional engineer. Keep standing, Dustin, let us see you. Congratulations.
Dustin, you're now on the list of all plaintiff lawyers in the state, so I'm sorry.
Well, that completes my report for today. If there are any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Good report, Lance. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I had just a few short comments, not so much a report, but I'll just second what our director has said. I just sitting there when you were going through the stream classifications and the miles and all. Of course, that was my little corner of this agency back in the early 80s. We were measuring stream miles with a USGS quad map. You still do that, Jay, at your business? And a little wheel thing. And I forgot the number. I think it was like 41,000 miles. I don't know. Jeff, you may know what it is now, but it's a whole lot bigger than that. So when you add all that in, I think those statistics are even more profound, because most of those streams that were not picked up by manual methods are in the rural forested areas, which were supposedly unimpaired or in great shape. So I think we have come a long way, and I can tell you I know JP back here and others of you have worked in other states, and it's some stark contrast to how well we do here compared to how some other states handle their environmental issues. The pluses and the minuses. I mean, we do a great job here thanks to our good staff and leadership. So, but in saying that, I've been on this commission just a little over a year. And Dr. Tucker's our newest member here. We're looking forward to him getting up to speed. You'll be voted on next year and may end up in this chair. There was a hanging Chad issue or something in my vote, so I ended up here. But appreciate your confidence. And these folks are great to work with. They all have the heart of this state as primary concern. And we don't get everything right. No agency does, no department does, or entity anywhere. But they do. So I appreciate the hard work. And in that regard, sitting here observing for the last year, thinking what might the public and you who attend, and a lot of you know this, but like when we come here, we vote on a couple of things and we leave and go back to our responsibilities. We do. The meeting is run very well and very economical, thanks to Ms. Thomas over here and how she and Ms. Cranage and the director's office and others, Marilyn and you know, others that get the material supplied to us. And so what actually happens is we spend about 2 hours, each of us separately, meeting with the director before this meeting sometime in the previous week or 10 days or 2 weeks. And it's not a 20-minute little sprint just to say we met. It's like a marathon. Lance should have been a preacher, I think. Reverend, you might take your job one day. So just
Hey, I got 2 churches. You can.
He would be good. But so that happens, and we are really informed on the details of everything that might come before this meeting and the department in general. And then on top of that, we get daily and weekly news briefs that are put out by the department. Debbie, Ms. Thomas over here, gets us all correspondence that comes to the commission and other correspondence that is relevant. And so we get a lot of information before this meeting happens. So when it gets time for the meeting, we don't hold everybody up 2 or 3 hours and you know, take more time than is needed, and to give time for the public and those who are signed up to speak, you know, have time to do that. So I just thought you ought to know that, because sometimes optics are different. Like, well, we come up here once for an hour, hour and a half every other month and turn around and leave, but that is not the case, I can assure you. And it's been an honor to do that, to hear how things are going in this state. They are going well, can be improvements, as the director has just said, and we all strive for that, and so we will continue on. So anyway, with that, I'll say no more, and we'll go to item number 4, I guess it is. So we're talking about the consideration and adoption of proposed amendments to ADEM Administrative Code 335-1, which is the General Administration Regulations. And so we will hear from the department.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Russell Kelly, Chief of the Permits and Services Division. Like you say, we're here with Division 1 before you. The department held a public hearing on December 14th for the revisions to Division 1. Proposed revisions include modifying, adding, and deleting forms necessary for the implementation of the department's rules and regulations. In total, there were 24 forms that were modified, 2 forms were added, and 3 forms were deleted. In addition, the department is proposing to revise ADEM Fee Schedule H, that is the Brownfield Redevelopment Volunteer Cleanup Program. Those revisions propose to establish the Brownfield Remediation Reserve Fund, and that is in accordance with the new Legislative Act of 2023-356 passed this previous legislative session. The department is also proposing to add Administrative Code R 335-1-5 in order to adopt a Title VI grievance procedure for the department under 40 CFR Section 7.9. Further changes are proposed to the administrative code relating to the Title V emission fee language in order to remain consistent with the federal rules. During the public comment period, there were no comments received. Therefore, at this time, I request your favorable consideration and answer any questions.
How does this affect overall funding in your section, Russell?
The Title V, it does. Basically, what's happened here is through time, the federal regulations are always amended and changed. Some are more critical than others. Some are more time sensitive. So at various times, we will go into the any of the regulations and make sure that the language mimics the federal language. We do that quite often so that we're consistent. As I said, sometimes it's more critical than others. This one, not all that critical. It doesn't change the Title V assessment at all. Simply makes the language consistent with where the federal language is at this time.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
All right, so you heard from Mr. Kelly, and I'll entertain a motion now from the proposed amendments to the, regarding the proposed amendments to the general administration regulations. I have a motion.
Move we adopt proposed amendments.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding that? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand, please. And all opposed? So unanimous, and we'll sign some paperwork. Mary.
You seconded that.
Yes, Mary.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, paperwork is done. It's done till the paperwork's done, right? Okay, I guess we're on agenda number 5. I haven't lost track already. Chair notes that agenda item 5 is consideration of adoption of the proposed amendments to ADEM Administrative Code 335-15, the Brownfield Redevelopment and Voluntary Cleanup Program regulations. Mr. Cobb.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Cobb, Chief of the Land Division. I come today to recommend that the Commission adopt amendments to the Department's Division 15, Brownfield Redevelopment and Voluntary Cleanup Program regulations. Revisions to this division are being proposed to comply with updated state law from the 2023 Alabama legislative session. These new rules establish the administrative procedures, guidelines and procedures to allow for reimbursements from the Brownfield Remediation Reserve Fund and amend the limitation of liability qualifications for responsible party applicants, as well as amending release reporting obligations. The revisions also include several typographical and citation updates in the existing regulations. The proposed regulations were the subject of a public comment period, which ran from October 29th to December 14th of 2023. Public hearing was held at the department on December 14. No oral comments were received during the hearing, and one written comment was received during the public comment period. Based on the comments received, no changes were made to the proposed regulations. The department's response to the comment received has been provided to the Commission. The revised regulations are presented today for your consideration, and we ask that you adopt the proposed changes to Division 15 I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
You mentioned amended liability clause. What, can you just briefly explain what was different, what they amended?
The legislation put in place a procedure by which responsible parties who apply and participate in the voluntary cleanup program can accrue certain liability protections, which protects future purchasers against changes in the standards that would apply to a given facility after a cleanup has been done. I believe the goal of that was to encourage more participation in the voluntary cleanup program and provide more regulatory certainty for future owners of that property.
Did I remember correctly, that actually can be handed down to the heirs and
That is correct.
successors?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other questions for Mr. Cobb? Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a motion, or need a motion here to adopt the proposed amendments to the Brownfield Redevelopment Voluntary Cleanup Program regulations. Do I have a motion?
Move to adopt the proposed amendments.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on that from anyone? Okay. No discussion then. I'll call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Unanimous, and the motion carries. Sign some more papers. Okay, thank you. All right, agenda item number 6, other business. Any other business to come before the commission? Okay, not hearing any. Item number 7, future business, noting the date of the next commission meeting is April 12th, 2024. Is everyone available, if you know that now, for that meeting? Okay, we may be 1 or 2 short pending medical appointments, so let us know if, as we get closer to time, if there's a problem, so we avoid not having a quorum if we can at all. All right. Okay, let's see, did I skip something here? Nope. Now we're in the public comment period. I note that there has been one person register from the public that has signed up to make a brief statement. The chair notes it there. I'll call on that person in just a second, as the names appear on the register, which is just one, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I want to just note that the speakers are encouraged to limit their statements to matters that directly relate to the commission's functions, and asked to observe a 3-minute time limit or the gong will come out. So names on the name, if I can find my paperwork, is Reverend Cody Gilliam. Did I say that right, Reverend?
You got close enough, sir.
All right, all right. come,
Giving a preacher 3 minutes, man, that's hard stuff right there.
I was gonna say, we need a big gong, don't we?
Well, I'm the pastor of Belmina Methodist Church and Walnut Grove Cumberland Presbyterian Church. I like to tell people at 9 a.m. I'm a Methodist, but at 11 a.m. I'm a Presbyterian. So
Well, you
I'm
were
happy to be
predestined
here
for
with you.
that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you today. Off of my circuit, I'm a dying breed, a circuit rider. I want to tell you a little bit about Belmina. Belmina was once considered for the state capital of Alabama, but old Cahaba beat us out, so we didn't get that distinction. But the second governor of Alabama owned the plantation there called Bell Manor, but they came through with a railroad and asked people there what the name of that plantation was. They said Belmina, and so the name stuck, and then they started calling the plantation Belmina and the town Belmina. That area is enriched in history. People have lived there since before the Stone Age, and people continue to live there. Of course, Tom lived there. Of course, Tom. I won't skip. I want to encourage you to. Then you need to look up the. Went to and prayed to God in our slaves, and they lived this quarry. Go. Let me tell you something. If this thing goes ADEM, I want to do one thing today. Beat up a lot. How you're doing your similar taste. And I just want to thank everyone for this time. Look at me. I even only didn't even use all my time. But thank you so much for letting me come and let me speak.
Minutes and in the department to do what the law requires and the best we can. So thank you. And that we want to, as just an added statement to not that particular, but communication with the department and even the commission is encouraged. I think we had a meeting here a couple of days ago with some environmental groups with the department that talk over issues, and so we certainly want to encourage that. So thank you again, and that's all we had on that part of the agenda. So we are basically ready to adjourn. So someone has a motion. That didn't take long. All right, a motion to adjourn, a second. Okay, Ms. Ruby seconded the motion, and any discussion on adjourning? Guess not. All those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? So it passes. We're adjourned. Thank y'all for coming. Good job. No tomatoes.